A valuable package has just arrived. It contains a work of conceptual art by Martin Creed, one of Britain's most celebrated artists. I bought this piece from Martin Creed's gallery online. It cost me £180, and I've been given very specific instructions on how to open it. Apparently, I have to use a scalpel to prise this box open as delicately as I can, like this. Let's open it up. That's it. I think that's it. Oh, there's something in here. A certificate. Martin Creed, work number 88, a sheet of A4 paper crumpled into a ball. Welcome to the puzzling, sometimes maddening world of conceptual art. This piece perhaps encapsulates why so many people struggle with conceptual art. It doesn't seem to require much skill, it's not particularly beautiful, and ultimately it feels like a bit of a rip-off. But maybe we're all missing something. And so, in this film, I'm going to attempt the near impossible, to really understand conceptual art. What is conceptual art? How should we approach it? And why should we care? To answer these and other questions, I'm going to examine its key works. Meet the movers and shakers of today, and experience some cutting-edge contemporary conceptual art in an open-minded guide for the perplexed. And who knows? By the end of it, we might all have changed our mind. Before the 20th century, there were objects and there were artworks. Now let's begin with the objects. Some objects were natural, some of them functional, some of them not very beautiful. Artworks, on the other hand, were made by artists, and they were very beautiful and often very, very expensive. Now, people were very happy with this distinction. They knew where they stood. But then, about 100 years ago, that system began to fall apart. Now, what happened was this. Objects became more and more like artworks, and artworks became more and more like objects. Gradually, they began to swap places until, eventually, it became difficult to know which one was which. Now, this left a lot of people very confused and some people very, very angry. But it was the first major innovation of conceptual art. And its first great innovator was the enigmatic Frenchman Marcel Duchamp, the chain-smoking sphinx of modern art. Duchamp had started as a painter, but around 1913 he became increasingly attracted to unassuming everyday objects that he began presenting as ready-made artworks. A bicycle wheel. A bottle rack. A snow shovel. And most famously, a urinal. So what was Duchamp up to with his taste-defying ready-mades?
Taste is the great enemy of art, A-R-T. That was the difficulty, to find an object that had no attraction whatsoever from the aesthetic angle. Of course, humor came in as an element. It was very important for me to introduce humor. That was my intention, to do something that would not please everybody.
Marcel Duchamp was being deliberately subversive while also making a revolutionary point. Not everything was art, but anything could be art. Why? Because the object didn't matter any longer. What mattered was the idea, the concept. And that was the beginning of what we've come to call conceptual art. Duchamp did a hit and run on the art world. After dropping his conceptual bombshell, he abandoned it and became a professional chess player instead. But his audacious acts opened the floodgates. 20th century art abounds with his disciples, but one of the most original was a mischievous Italian aristocrat. Piero Manzoni was a self-taught artist who rose to prominence with his achromes, a series of white-surfaced works made from increasingly unusual materials. But by the end of the 1950s, Manzoni began questioning the nature of the art object in bizarre new ways. He signed real bodies to make living sculptures, drew never-ending lines, blew up balloons, and called the resulting sculptures artist's breath, pressed his thumbprint onto hard-boiled eggs for the public to consume, and even created an upside-down plinth that presented the whole world as a work of art. Piero Manzoni died at the age of 29, but he proved that conceptual artists had a Midas touch. A good idea could convert practically anything into a masterpiece. And today, like Duchamp, he's regarded as one of the forefathers of conceptual art, a pioneering provocateur whose influence lives on.